information and derogatory, unfounded, and some of the words that you used are descriptive. I don't know where that came from.
Well, I don't either.
But I don't think it came from the PT. I know it did come from the PTSA board. So, you know, we've had 100% turnover in administration. Now we have, you know, a director who has health problems again, which eerily sounds familiar, doesn't it? And it gives us great cause for concern. Mr. Suarez, you know, nothing against him certainly, but his predecessor was here for, what, a couple of weeks? Perhaps before then. He came right when school started. My son has not had a math teacher but for maybe 2 days, and what are we in the 5th week of school? We had our PTSA meeting last Thursday, and again, held in a very professional manner, questions and answer session, and there was probably, I don't know, maybe 15 parents there, beyond the board, who you see, you know, very often, I know. And they were very concerned. Why are there no books in the school? We heard the same complaint last year. Why do my kids not have teachers? They don't have, some of the substitutes are not even supervising the classes, from what, you know, the reports are from the teenagers. Teenagers are complaining about not learning. You know, those of us who have teenagers, most of them, you know, they're not going to complain about not having any homework, but that's actually the feedback that the parents are getting. So there's some problems with the academics in the school that are very concerning. We're concerned about our kids' education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Evelise Barriolivo. I'm also a parent here, and I just want to pick up on one of the comments that Sherry just made. My son is in AP European History. Do you guys know about AP classes and how it works? They're set up so that the classes are, you know, mimicking essentially college courses, and most of the learning is done by reading. You read the books at home. He had world history last year. He did tons of homework. There aren't books in AP European history for the students. I've had several conversations by email with Mr. Sawyer. I did research online. I found books available at different sites. I suggested to him that if the problem was that he didn't have time, because I know that they're short-staffed, that I would be happy to get together volunteers from the PTSA to research the books, talk to the teachers, find out what they needed, research the books, find the best price, negotiate, and present it to you so you could order the books for the classroom. And that has not happened. I didn't hear anybody talking about the problem of no books here, and I was wondering why that was not on the agenda. It was also discussed, by the way, last week at the PTSA meeting. I wasn't there, but it was also discussed last week at the PTSA meeting. In addition to the fact that there are several classes where teachers are completely missing, which is a real big problem. And also just wanted to follow up a little what Sherry just said. Ignacio, Ms. Holloman, Mr. Ortiz-Petty, whatever it is that you have seen that suggests that any parent at the school has said anything that's scandalous or libelous or whatever, please tell me. Please show me. I am the attorney representing Mr. Hernandez in the lawsuit. The lawsuit is about 100 pages long. It goes through every single email. There is not a single adjective of any sort. It's pure fact. If there's anything in there, Ms. Holloman, that you think is incorrect, please tell me. Tell me. We have been reaching out to this board for a long time, and we have not received significant responses. As far as public records requests, several have been made. We do have an appointment next week. There was also one that was sent last week that sets forth requests, a number of documents from 2011, things that have happened only in the last year. They're all very clear records of things that are public records. I spoke with Mr. Post, who told me that, I just received a letter here right now, right before this meeting, who said that you still need more time to go through these records and produce them. They're limited to things involving, for the most part, July 28th meeting, the July 14th meeting, actions in 2011, things that were discussed at the July 28th meeting. These documents should not be difficult to find. and I would appreciate the board's prompt response within the law to those documents requests.
I will briefly respond to that, because that's part of why I've been retained. I spoke several times with Ms. Kubo. We have advised her that the documents will all be provided. They were available on August the 17th, a whole room of documents, but Mr. Hernandez chose not to appear. There are serial requests. That's not to say that the requests are improper, but it's a small school, there's a very small administrative staff, and it's obviously important that school business come first, because I hear, I'm a parent too, okay? And I can see you're worried about your books, and you're worried about the teachers, and if all of the time of the tiny staff is being compelled to produce document after document after document, and I'm talking about hundreds of requests over the period of time. The most recent request, I think, had 34 different requests, and we're hearing a complaint they haven't been produced within 5 or 6 days. Well, just as a parent, that sounds counterproductive to me. We're going to produce all of the documents that the law requires, and we're going to do it in as expeditious a way as possible. But pressuring the board to produce the documents and spend precious time getting these documents instead of worrying about what to me as a parent seems to be more important seems somewhat counterproductive.
I'd just like to quickly respond. This isn't really the place to be arguing about this, but with respect to the requests that are the subject of the lawsuit was filed on August 2nd. The requests were made between March and May. School ended in June. There was all of June, all of July. There was a board meeting here on July 28th. This issue wasn't discussed. And no, nothing was said to Mr. Hernandez prior to the Monday after the lawsuit was filed. The lawsuit was filed, and then suddenly the records were being produced. There was no indication before that except for one acknowledgement letter in April. Okay? Yes, it's a small school, but by the same token, during the summer, be interested to know what the explanation is as to why it was so difficult. With respect to the requests that were made last week, the request is that they could be produced next week. So that would be a 2-week period from the time the request was made to the time at which we're requesting that they be produced. And those are all documents. 90% of those documents involve actions that occurred in this calendar year, some of them in the past few months. Honestly, I don't get it. I don't see why there'd be any reason that those documents couldn't be produced with 2 weeks' notice when they're current documents. But I think this is not necessarily the time or the place to be discussing that right now.
I believe the proper place to discuss it is in court. And there's a hearing on November 3rd, and we'll address it.
That's your mind about it. Mr. Post, actually.
Likewise.
My name's Carlos Hernandez. My daughter is Nicolette Hernandez. She's here in the 10th grade. I just have a couple of questions for the board. Obviously, I'd like this public forum to address you, the board. Ms. Montaner, you've been here with the board since the inception of Acting for All and Academy of Arts and Minds? Yes, Your Honor.
Excuse me, this is not a
But
question regarding
I know
the-
when I listen to your things, to your complaints, to what you have to say, I am not gonna be subject to an interrogatory from you.
You're not just going to answer
I
questions that
am
may be of
just
interest to the
listening,
folks?
I am just listening your comments today. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Does anybody know where Mr. Jorge Guerra Castro is today? Is he present? He is not present? Is Mr. Jorge Guerra Castro a member of the board? He is not, or he is? Do you know? I'm asking a question about a board member. Is Mr. Percy Avila a board member? Is he still a board member? No? Yes? Okay. Does anybody know where Mr. Guerra Castro has been living for the past 6 years? when was the last time that any of the governing board had a conversation with Mr. Jorge Guerra Castro? Did Mr. Jorge Guerra Castro authorize you to use his name as a member of the governing board of the Academy of Arts and Mines and Acting for All? Do you know where Mr. Jorge Guerra Castro is presently employed? As a member of the governing board, I think the parents should have access to Mr. Jorge Guerra Castro. You don't agree with that statement? Do you know that Mr. Jorge Guerra Castro has been the Dean of Theater at La Universidad Católica del Perú for the last 6 years? And he has not lived in the United States? Does that surprise anybody? No? I would find it difficult for him to be coming to board meetings every month if he's living in Peru. Have you had phone conversations with him? Is he available via phone? No? Okay. When was the last time the whistleblower policy was used here at Acting for All? Ms. Montaner, that seems pretty easy. Nope, you're not answering questions? Okay, can I read a letter of non-compliance sent by CSO to the board? This is dated September 21st, 2011. It's directed to Ms. Ruth Montaner, Governing Board Chair, Acting for All Inc., 2333 Brickell Avenue, number 1806. Since you just want to listen, I'll just go ahead and read. And also to Mr. Kevin Sawyer.
That's not going to happen either. You have to comment
Mr.
on...
Listen, you're not even part of the governing board.
You have to comment on...
Notice of non-compliance, collection of student
I am
fees.
sorry, at the beginning of the agenda...
Dear Ms.
you
Montaner
said,
and
"I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Sawyer,
Mr. Fernandez, you
This
have-"
letter is official notice that Academy of Arts and Mines Charter High School has violated state law and materially breached the charter school contract with the school board by charging students excessive fees for instruction and school activities, and we still have no books. Part 1, Section B of the contract follows state law and clearly states that pursuant to Florida statute, a charter school shall not charge tuition or fees except these normally charged by other public schools. On Friday, August 5th, 2011, the Office of Charter School Operations received an email sent by school to parents of students and potential students that a base activity fee of $125 grade 9 and $75 grade 10 through 12 was to be collected at August 11, 2012 orientation, and the elective fees would be collected during the week of September 12 through the 16th, 2012. On August 11, 2011, Mr. Sawyer forwarded to CSO the school's 2011-2012 fee schedule, Attachment B, and class fees, Attachment C, for both elective and core courses. State statute and school board policy allow for nominal fees to be charged for specific pre-identified issues, such as locker rental, instrumental, whatever. Mr. Ortiz-Pettit, I understand that you had no idea about that from your last comments from the last governing board meeting, but that's the way it's supposed to work. How long have you been on the board? Like 6 years, I believe? Minimal fees deemed optional can be assessed for publications, handouts, ID cards, yearbooks, and non-required activities, clubs, and homerooms. The intent is to facilitate the use of adequate, appropriate learning materials in the course of instruction and not to serve as a fundraising activity and or to supplement the normal costs associated with the school's instructional delivery program, which of course you receive funds for, which is funded through the school's allocation from Florida's Education Finance Program, FEFP. Both blanket activity fees and individual course fees are expressly prohibited. Specifically, the following items, and it goes through a list of items, which I'm sure that you have seen. No later than Wednesday, September 21st, 2011, the school must forward a full and complete accounting of all school fees collected for school years 2007-2008, 2008-2009, 2009-2010, 2010-2011, 2011-2012, an action plan to reimburse those funds. So I guess they're commanding or directing the school to